Man, it's one of the best cameras I actually bought because it's just it makes it so easy to like it's like a phone.
Yeah.
You know, it's not bulky. I could take really good pictures with it. The
That's
focusing, eye focus.
Yeah, I was actually looking at so my next phone. I technically have two, but I was looking at switching one out for the Sony Xperia because that phone, the camera on that was like it's like shooting with the Sony.
Yeah.
I was like, because I tell people all the time, it's like I don't buy phones, I buy cameras that have a phone attached to it.
Yeah.
Because texting, all that sort of stuff, everybody does about the same. Mm-hmm. Comes to shooting that footage, that's what I need because I'm like,
yeah.
And then I hate that Samsung took out their micro SD slots. So I was like, fuck them.
Yeah. And it's easy. It's just like it's quicker to kind of like just create. We could just be chilling somewhere. Boop. Anyway. Boop.
Yep.
But yeah, man. So we are on the podcast, Choose to Create podcast, man.
You recorded already?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we live, man. You know, what is it? Outtakes. Yeah, man. Choose to Create podcast, episode, what is it, 11? Episode 11. I've been working, bro.
You've been hustling. I didn't know it was 11. Damn. You need to keep a score sheet, like tally on the board or something like that. Like.
Episode 11, man. So yeah, we are up in this thing. I'm over here with legendary, the one and only Osei, man. Content creator, production. Really, I always say content creator, but the real thing is like an agency owner. Someone that creates content for businesses to help them market whatever they're doing. And like we work out at this place down here in Fort Lauderdale, General Provision, where, you know, everybody's hustling, everybody's grinding, everybody's on the go.
Yep.
And like for me, I'm a humble dude, and I always want to get better. And the only way for me to get better is to be like around people that's like killing it, that's on the next level. So it levels me up. So like I always see them grinding, and you know, I don't say nothing. I'm like, okay, you grinding, I'm gonna grind harder.
Yeah. Like Will Smith on that treadmill. Two things gonna happen. I'm gonna die on this treadmill, or you getting off first.
You feel me? So yeah, that's really what it was, man. And then we connected. I hollered at you, and we just kicked it off, man. And I was like, yeah, man, I really like, you know, I'm motivated by your grind. I'm motivated by what you do, and I'm inspired by it. You feel what I'm saying? A lot of times I don't know why people don't like telling people these type of things, but hey, it is what it is. You gotta just speak the truth. You gotta just know what it is and just speak the truth. And at the end of the day, like for me, I always want to spend my time with people that inspires me, and that's just what keeps me going.
Yep. I mean, I'm the same way, you know. It's that mythology of like, you know, if you tell people like that you appreciate them or that, you know, you look up to them or whatever, then they're going to take advantage of you, you know, and that's like that scary mentality. But I think that keeps people separated and not really making any headway because, you know, like, I mean, it's the same thing. Like if you get, you know, like we were talking about a little bit before, like mentorship and stuff like that. Like if you tell people you appreciate them, they're going to probably bring you into that hustle, bring you into that grind. Like, you know, like most people are willing to share where they're at, especially if they've made it, like if they've come up or they made some progress in something that may be holding you back. And they're like, you know what, I'm stuck right here. Oh, you know what, I was there a couple years ago. This is what I did to get over that hump or to get by that grind. So, I mean, but it was the same thing. The feel is mutual. It's like, you know, I started here at GP and then it's just like I see you popping in and out. I was like, man, that dude, look, he keep on running. Like he's in, out, all right, you know, same thing. I was just like, all right, he's working. I'm going to stay here and work too. You know, I'm going to keep it going. And then we just finally introduced ourselves and, you know, went to lunch that one time. And then, boom, it's been on since then. It's like, I do appreciate, like, everything that you do, the creativity, the amount of stuff that you put out. And even your concept and your hustle. I was just like, when I found out, I was just like, damn, that's such a good idea. Knock myself in it, like, you know. So, yeah, man, and your story and everything, like, life is good, man. Life, you know, makes you really appreciate, like, you know, where we started off at and how we ended up here. And, you know, even though it's, you know, for both of us, this is not our stopping point, but it's a good place to be right now, you know, just ready to grow from here, too.
Yeah, 100%, man. Life is great. Life is great. So, yeah, man, just as a quick introduction, you know, let the people know a little bit about Osei and just, like, your name of your company, just a quick intro.
Okay. So, name is Osei Xavier. Company name is Eff5 Digital Marketing. Started with 3 partners that actually we all met in martial arts, doing martial arts at a Kung Fu school. I would say Kung Fu school, but even that, it started off as a Kung Fu school, but now it's definitely a martial arts school because we cover so many martial arts. We've been doing digital marketing as an agency for about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years now. We've been doing digital marketing for well over like 12, 15 years because that's where we were able to grow our school location from what it was to where it's at now. And even getting through like, with COVID and stuff like that, like, having that aspect of digital marketing and where to go from there, like when everything shut down brick and mortar and you couldn't have people coming in, we would, close on a Friday, and by Monday morning, we were teaching classes online, like right away. So there was no stop. There was no like little breaks. I mean, and it worked out for me. It was just put it together, hustle, figure it out, and keep it moving. Because, like I said, the world didn't stop. Even though COVID made everything stop, the world still didn't stop, and I figured, like, at that point in time, people who got it are going to get ahead. But, that's the overall gist of the story. Been training martial arts since 99, the same location, then became an instructor, and then eventually became a manager. And working alongside the owner, we came up with our digital plans and seeing just where the world was going, advertising on Facebook, all that sort of stuff. And it grew from there, dove into that world heavy, and we figured it out. Did some masterminds, went around, traveled the country for a little bit. I remember at one point we would get reports on different like martial arts schools, different locations, and I remember hearing there was one school in this was up in Boston, and it said they did 100 signups in 1 month, 100% closing rate. The next week, I booked a flight to Boston. I had called the owner. Then I was like, listen, how did you do that? Like, it's like, is it okay for me to come and visit your school? He's like, yeah, come on up. So I booked a flight the next week. He said, I have zero ego when it comes to that. I was just like, how did you do it? And how can I learn it? How can we translate that into like our location? Take what it is that you did. I can't take it verbatim, like step by step, but like, I want to see what their process was, what was going on up there, and take it and learn from it and bring it back. So that was the thing and that's why I said for me, it's not about ego. It's about, because somebody out there is doing it, somebody out there is hustling, and sometimes I'm not focused on that, but somebody else did it. So go ask a question, go visit, go seek that knowledge, and figure it out, because that's what it's all about.
He was receptive to that. Like he was open to show you like what he did and stuff like that.
Yeah. The owner of the location itself didn't actually show up. He actually, when I got up there, he told me, he's like, listen, I'm not around, but to be honest with you, like, the reason that location was so successful was because of my manager and the 3 instructors that were there. So he said, so I set it up so you can meet them, and, I got there. And you would think, like, this is a martial arts location, so you would think, like, the manager and the instructors, they would be, like, and this is mainly a kickboxing studio at the time. And you would think that these guys would be ripped, in shape, flexing. Nope. Manager, he was maybe like a good 20, 30 pounds overweight. His head instructor, she was, she was a little chunky. It wasn't that saying like, people can be fit, but she was definitely like, she was on the bigger side of things. She wasn't like this ripped, rippling abs, stuff like that, whatever. And what I got from them that made it so successful was that they could relate to people walking in the door. Because people were walking in the door and they were like, I've never worked out before, or I want to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, whatever, And these guys went through the process, like I said, even though that the manager, he was 30 pounds overweight, but he came down from like being 60 pounds overweight. So he could relate to people coming in and saying like, you know what, I understand your journey. And he took the time to figure that out. And that put me in a very, very different mind frame. It's like, yeah, you can look great.
That's dope.
But if you're not relating, it's hard. It's hard. Oh, there you go. Adjustment good. Yeah. So that's but like I said, so for me it wasn't like a lot of times people look at that sort of location or look at stuff like that, be like, oh, I can do it. I can figure it out. I can do it, you know, but everybody's process is different. It's like going up there and like actually putting your hands on, like getting your hands in the dirt a little bit, watching them teach class, watch them go through a sales process with some, you know, somebody new that walked in and stuff like that. And made me realize where I was deficient at.
There's so many layers to that, bro. Like, it's so real. Because one is relatability and just being real. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of people, like, they'd be like, oh, I can't launch until I'm perfect. Yeah. I can't launch until this is perfect, that is perfect. And,
yep.
And if you wasn't launched while it's perfect, nobody's probably not going to come in the door because it's perfect. Yep. Who is perfect?
Exactly. Analysis paralysis.
Who is perfect, right? So, relatability. And then another thing is, too, is like, you seen somebody else that was doing it and you was humble enough to recognize it, right? And let him know that. Mm-hmm. And let him know, like, hey, I'm going to be a student. I'm going to be a student of whatever you're doing.
Yep.
Like, literally, like, I'm going to be a student, bro. Like, I'm not that. I'm going to be a student, like literally. And the other side of it was him accepting that.
Yep.
And being open and giving you everything that he knows as well. Not seeing it as like, oh, this is competition. Let me cuff this information.
Yeah.
Let me hide this from him because he's going to try and take over my business.
Yeah. I mean, that was the good part about it, too. And the other thing about it, too, is, like, at the time, I was just managing the school. Like, I wasn't, like, really, like, heading up. And I was kind of, like, still new to it. And this was something I took upon myself. Like, I didn't tell the owner, John, that I was going up there for that. I didn't tell, like, anyone. I paid for it out of my own pocket. Because I was just like, there's information, there's knowledge there that I need to go get. You know, credit card, you know, I just paid a credit card off. But, you know, at the time, it was like, you know, could I really afford to go? Not really, but I made it happen. And I even offered to pay him. And he was just like, no. It's like, listen, you don't have to pay me. Show up. We'll take care of you. Yada, yada, you know, and it was good. It was good.
Yeah. And that's what it is, man. That's really, I feel like that's like creating creating what you want in the world. You know, a lot of times we manifest the things that we don't want because we always focused on like, oh, people ain't supporting me. You know, just like, nah, just focus on the people that is supporting you. Why they're supporting you. Support them more.
Yep.
Give them more value. And like that's even like how a lot of times like how you see how we are just grinding and connecting and recognizing each other and being like, yo, you a star, I'm gonna learn from you. Mm-hmm. Like whether you like it or not, I'm gonna get me some information. I don't have to talk to you for you to be my mentor.
True.
Cause you gotta walk around. Yeah. You're an example. You know what I mean? You gotta move around. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm gonna be paying attention to how you move. I'm gonna pay attention to how you have conversation. I'm gonna pay attention to how you treat people. I'm gonna pay attention to how you take a sales call.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that regardless. You don't have to like. I don't have to like. No, I'm gonna steal some information, bro. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna use.
Take some notes. There we go. Digital notes all the time. Like click.
Yeah, but I'm like, you just got to be like willing and humble enough to do that. And it's like, I remember when I moved back to Florida, and like I was working it as a creative, and I'm like, this is a little cutthroat a little bit, you know. This is everybody is like really like, this is my client, like
slice and dice, man, slice and dice.
I can't teach you this. Mm-hmm. I'm like, whoa, what is this? So I went straight up and I was like, man, you know, we're going to change the energy of that in Florida. And I'm just going to be 100% myself.
Yep.
I'm going to be 100% real. And I'm about to go find me mentors and learn this thing. So, like, the one of the things, too, that I've noticed with you, what you was telling me, too, is that you was in martial arts. Like, I went to school for filmmaking. I went to school for arts. I'm an artist. I love martial arts as well, but, like, were you in media? Were you doing production before that? Like,
all right, so yeah. So I went to being here in Florida. I lived in Miami, so I went to New World School of the Arts for visual arts, and then I went to Maryland Institute College of Arts. So I was in Baltimore for 4 years. Now I was just a general fine arts, like draw, paint. But while I was there, I was just looking ahead, and this is like we're talking 94 to 98, old. You know, this was dial up. Everybody just had that. Even at college, you know, you had to log on the computer and it's still dial up like. So internet wasn't heavy, but I knew like, technology was going to be the way, because like as an artist, you're like, all right, I could sell paintings and stuff like that. I could be a gallery artist, but is that going to be steady income? Like how I'm going to make that happen? So I knew like getting into technology was something I needed to do. And, but that was a need, and just like creating artwork on a computer, that's how it started. Like me and Photoshop, from like Photoshop 1.0, we're down.
Wow.
And I was doing like, I used to use 3D Studio Max to create like 3D effects, all that sort of stuff. Like my goal coming out of college was actually to try and work for ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, creating like computer generated graphics and stuff like that, CGI effects. But also I had a love for photography. And I just always used to jump in a photography lab. I took 1 or 2 photography courses throughout my time there. But I always, being general fine arts, I used to always take and put everything together. Like if I had a painting class that I had to do a painting for, that painting would include a photographer, some piece of photography that was stuck onto the canvas and painted over, or like mixed media in that sense, or some digital work I created, as well as a lot of graffiti. So that was that. I was just always had that creative mindset and openness to do it. And to be honest, like other than that, it's like really teaching yourself. Once I came out, I could do graphics. Like I could do print media. I knew all the basics of it. But when a company asked me about doing websites, yeah, sure, I could build websites. Let me go figure this out, So I came out during the .com boom, worked for a company down on South Beach for a while. And then when they went belly up, that kind of like kicked off my whole entrepreneurial career. Is like, I can, what they were billing me out as to build websites for other people, I could build that myself. And I'm going to work on the most creative things out there. I'm only going to take like the super creative clients. I had a friend that was in California that was doing it, and he was getting like jobs building like, and this is the time of like Flash, stuff like that. So you write an action script, and he's creating like these cool like, websites for like record companies and artists and stuff like that. I was like, that's going to be me. And reality set in. Florida sucks for pay, like for any of that sort of stuff. And it's like, you think, and it took me about a good like year and a half, 2 years to realize that boring pays the bills. All that flashy stuff, everybody who wanted anything flashy, who wanted anything, usually they come to you, they can't afford it. Yeah. They want, I want to, you have this up and coming rapper, this up and coming like musician. I even did, I remember helping shoot a music video for these guys. Now they paid for the studio, they paid for their equipment rental, they paid for the models, hairdresser, all that sort of stuff. Guess who did not get paid?
The actual people that were shooting and editing.
Yeah, exactly. Because once they got they got the footage, they were ghost. And me and a couple dudes were sitting there like, how did everybody else get paid? And we did not. I literally like standing there, like looking at it, like, did they contact? No. Did they? No. No. I was just like, bro, something's got to change here.
Yeah, man. Music, that's where I stopped doing music videos too.
Yeah. So then, people will come up and they'll be like, there was a medical magazine that was just like, listen, we want to create a website. It's going to be very boring. We just want to put our medical stuff, everything we put in the magazine, we want you to put it on the website. Okay. How much you going to pay? What? Yes, sure. That was like my first like client that was like paying like over $1,000 a month just for that.
Wow.
And it's like literally this copy paste. Anything that they send me the original editor files, copy it, because I told them I don't do copywriting. They said no problem. We're just gonna send you everything that they wrote. Just put some cool graphics on it, and boom, upload it. It would take me, when they'll send it to me, it'll take me 2 days, $1,000. Yeah. And I was like, all right. It was boring as hell. It was boring, but it paid the bills, and that's where it came from. Boring pays the bills. So that kind of for a while became my motto. It's just like I didn't look for the flashy stuff. I didn't look for the stuff that's like ultra mega creative. Or like, yes, my artistic soul wants to be like that, but at the same token, it's just like, how effective would that really be? Like it's cool to have that feather in your cap, but at the end of the day, when FP&L comes knocking looking for their electric bill, You can't be like, I worked on this cool project that didn't pay me.
Yeah.
This music video that's going viral right now that I shot, but they gave me no acknowledgement for, and I didn't get paid for. But would you accept that, FPL? You know, like leave my lights on for another month? Nah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, nah, for sure, man. I learned that pretty quick too in the music industry. It's like, it's not necessarily the route that I wanted to go, and just the egos and everything that was involved with it. It's like, I just want to help. You know, I want to add value. So and I want to be appreciated.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like that. I had other people like I know there was one person that could afford to pay. They literally could afford to pay, and tried to sit there and nickel and dime me down, like wheel and deal, like all the way down. And I'm just like, at a certain point, I was like, I just got up and left dinner. I was like, you know, it's just not worth it. They're like, what's going on? I was like, it's not worth it. Like, all of this hassle that you're putting me through for this, and yes, it sounds great, and yes, it will be a great project, and oh, yeah, the upside potential, you're going to get a percentage of da-da-da-da. It's like, yeah, I can't run on your hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
You know, I needed a paycheck now or nothing, you know? I say it became cutthroat like that, but like, it's like, you know, South Florida was just different. When I got an agent that was working, I had one agent that was in New York, and then had another agent that was working out of California. They would funnel me jobs that would pay me like California and New York rates, which was far higher. Even with their percentage cut, I was doing a lot better. And I was, you know, same thing. It was like a lot of boring, simple jobs, but they paid, you know, creating a business website for a law firm. Yeah. Boring as hell, but you know, lawyers had them. They had the money to pay, so
they had the money to play, and it's really just having that layer of consistency and having that just keep it simple.
Yep.
Keep it simple, man. Even with that, I want to jump into like a little bit of like because you are an artist, so you have background in the visual arts, but you also do martial arts. And like for me, I was never really a martial artist like that, but I always had an interest with it, and I always had friends that was in martial artists. Like I remember a couple of my homewoods, middle school, high school, my brothers. Like I grew up actually. Bruce Lee was my first sensei. I watched
Bruce Lee was all of our first sensei. Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, you know, some Donnie Yen.
Yeah, you know, Eagle Claw, Tiger Claw, all that, you know, like the crane, you know. All that stuff, man. I was like
Sean Liu, like man.
I was on that heavy, man, Japanese, especially like I'm you know, Jamaican and everything like that. So like we was fanatics.
Saturday morning kung fu or Sunday morning kung fu flicks.
Fanatics, you know. So like, but I want to kind of like show like not only how the art is one thing and doing it as a business as well and doing the business, but like just like how you was able to use that and balance out like work, like so from the instance of saying like, okay, I get on this sparring thing, doing my thing. How did that help you be more creative in you being like a photographer or creating content and things like that? How did that like?
You know, it's a good question, very good question. I would say that I would say like I know particularly for me, especially. I mean, I've been stand-up fighting for a while, but I think it's easier to relate to like how I approach Jiu Jitsu. So right now I'm a purple belt in Jiu Jitsu, and now, when you go into a jiu-jitsu class, you know, they start you off, they teach you a technique, right? And you drill a technique, and you learn a technique, and you practice it. Then usually at the end of class, they have you do, you know, rolling, which is the same thing as sparring. So as you're doing it, you're trying to figure out how to just add this technique I just learned, how do I apply it? And a lot of times it takes like breaking it down, because it never happens the way that you drilled it. Because you drilled it, you know, they're going to give you your arm so they can do an arm bar. You know, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, you do an arm bar, like, da-da-da-da, stuff like that. And it's like, it works like that. And, you know, you're drilling, you get it. And then you try applying it, sparring, and it's just like, it doesn't happen. Like, their arm's there for 1 second, then it's gone. Or it's da-da-da, or like, you're inverted the opposite way. So it's like thinking outside of the box. Like, you have the technique. Now, when you apply it, it's never applied to the way that you actually learned it. Same thing like if you learned, like, you know, I did studio photography in college, and taking that and saying, okay, like, you know, when you have the ideal situation, when you have, you know, your 3 lights set up, your background, your stuff like that, and, you know, you have a model that knows how to model or whatnot, like, you know, but you get into a live scenario, live situation where it's like you only have one real light to work with and the other one's a different color. you know, and then the model doesn't know what they're doing or, you know, whatnot. And it's like, how can you create? So that aspect of it is how it taught me just to not get stuck on just the basics and exactly how I learned it, but how to apply it in real life scenarios. You know, how to still be able to get that effect, or how to be able to get the job done. You know, it's not to me, even though I don't have all the tools, or it's not given to me the exact right way. So it teaches me to be creative with it and work around. And there's always a way through that morass or that problem that you have to solve. So that's one of the aspects of it. And just pure dogged tenacity sometimes too. You know, just understanding that just even in my journey to get to a purple belt in Jiu Jitsu, it wasn't like, and you know, with other martial arts, testing wise, like, you know, you learn a few skills, boom, 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 you test, then you move to the next belt. You learn a few skills, you test, you move to the next belt. Jiu-Jitsu is more of like, you put in your time, you put in time, you put in time, you put in consistency, you put in time, you put in consistency. And then the instructor decides like when you move up. It's not like you do a certain test and then you move up. It's like, this is, you know, I see that you've been putting in time. You're consistently coming in. You've been, even if you haven't been like submitting a lot of people, I just been watching you flow, and you're flowing a little smoother or whatever will happen. Like every instructor looks for something a little bit different for them students, but you know, it's never like you know your test line is this, and I pass this, I get an A or B or C, and I pass or whatever. It's just you have to just keep showing up and keep putting in the work, and that's where that tenacity comes in. Like, you know, keep showing up, keep putting in the work. I apply that to, like, you know, my fighting career, my stand-up fighting career. It was, you just train. You just come in and you train. Like, you train for any eventuality, each and everything. You show up. And there was days that I would put in work, but I didn't think I put in enough work, so I have to stay extra. It's because in my mind, I'm just like, I know I didn't push myself to where I needed to be, so I'll stay and put in extra work till I push myself to that next level, or push myself to where I said, like, all right, this is a good stopping point. Like, I really did extract everything from myself for the day that I could, you know. And some days you'll be up, some days you'll be down, but as long as you still hit your ceiling of where you're at, whether you're up or down, you know, that's what it is.
Nah, that's dope, man. And that's really like what it is when it comes to like content creation, because it's not always like you're gonna have a perfect scenario.
You'd never have a perfect
You know what I
scenario,
mean?
bro.
There's certain times where it's always, but that's what you learned in school, like a perfect lighting. But in reality, it's not a perfect scenario. You gotta, regardless of that though, it's just they still want that end result.
Yep.
So you have to work with the client, get the client to be comfortable. Now, being comfortable, that means professional and personable.
Yep.
Being professional, but being personable. Sometimes, if you just follow the technique, and just being professional, and sending the light, you're not gonna get what you need.
Yep.
You have to have that level of like being real and being that person that is personable, where they feel comfortable.
Yep.
And they can start letting down their guards. Like a lot of my photo shoots is just us talking, us vibing. So like when people be like, oh yeah, I'm nervous, I never take good photographs. I'm like, we're not even doing the photo shoot. You're just hanging out with RJ.
Yeah. There you go.
That's it.
Talking it, and sometimes every once in a while you click a button. You know.
Exactly. So it's like making the most out of the situation, understanding the end result, understanding that you want to get this arm bar, but it's not exactly how it was when you was doing in that situation. But it's okay. You just gotta be aware.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta stay. And that's like, I did jiu-jitsu for like probably 3-4 months, and I had a great experience with it. But it's like it's combat. It's actually like you're putting in the work. You know, it's like actually like physically putting in the work, and you guys hitting chest to chest, body to body. You feeling how he's breathing. You understand when he's getting weak. You understand when they're moving, and that's why I wanted to ask you that question, because it's like it's a lot of that combines together, especially as art from martial arts to be actually being a creative artist. A lot of that is in connection. Even when you was talking about the tenacity part, it's like, yeah, you have to have that level of consistency. Because really, that's really the main thing. It's not just like, okay, I'm just gonna make this perfect image. Start with that image in your mind, but you have to have that tenacity to fight for that shot all the way through. Because a lot of times when you be like, oh, I already done, the time is already up. We were supposed to be shooting for an hour and the time is up.
Yeah.
No, get a couple more shots, and those last couple of shots,
those are gonna be the money ones. Like,
that's it. You gotta just like push through that and be like, you know what? It's like I don't like necessarily put the time on my. I mean, book me for time, but in my mind, I say my time is when I get the shot.
Yeah. Yep. Get that client nice and happy. I mean, you're not gonna go like, you're not gonna put in like 4 hours and try to get one shot if they only book you for 30 minutes. Yeah. But at the same token, you just have to know when you've extracted as much as you can from that scenario or from what you were able to work with and give. It's always a sense of like under promise and over deliver. Mm-hmm. I could give you this, but when you come back, it's more like blah. This is a little bit more. You know what you're worth and what you can do. And then you do that a couple times, they become your clients for life. They're always coming back to you because they're comfortable. They know that you're going to deliver. You're probably going to be, most likely you're on time. And they can rely and trust you. So that's what it takes, to be in this field. Because there's so many times and so many, I've heard like once we left like, content creation or like even when I was doing web design, like exclusively, and you had the rise of like Pakistan and India, like, companies out there like say, oh, I could do websites for like $200, what you were charging $1,000 for. So, and clients would tell me that like, hey, listen, I'm gonna go over here. They're going to charge me like $200. And I'm like, all right, cool. 2-3 months, they're coming back.
Yeah.
How much is it to build a website? $1,000. No, but these guys already did part of it for $200. I was like, $1,000. Yeah. I'm not going to build off of somebody else's code. I know what I have and what I bring to the table. It's like, I'm going to build it to you from scratch, from ground up. I'm going to give it to you exactly what you want it. Boom, a lot of times, they get this cookie cutter stuff and they're just like, oh man, it wasn't what I said, but you paid $200 for it. So it's like a site that would have cost you $1,000 now costs you $1,200. Yeah. Plus took you like 3 times longer. Because
how are you going to communicate? You talking to somebody that don't really understand where you coming from and don't even take the time to understand you. Like, it's not just a plain on website or a plain on photograph or video. It's understanding. Yeah. And it's that communication. It's really it's like really just having that line of communication, asking the right questions.
Yep.
Being knowing where to so it's problem solving. It's having that solution. You can only develop a solution if I listen to you. I can't just like so they'll just call me and they'll say like, so how much does it cost for a photo shoot? I had somebody just call me that yesterday. Yeah. How much it costs for a photo shoot? Okay, well, what do you do? Like, tell me about you. Tell me about your background. Like, what got you into this field? Mm-hmm. I need to learn about you.
Yeah.
I need to learn why are you so passionate about this? Because I'm not necessarily gonna just work with anybody.
Yep.
I need to know like some history about like what you're doing and what makes you so passionate about this.
Yep.
What's the transformation that you've given to the people that works with you? So that way I could like in some kind of way show that. Yeah, you can craft it. You can, show. But also, what you did too is by flipping it, it's like take control of the conversation. So you don't let them keep dictating or running things. Like all of a sudden they're like, oh wait, oh my bad. Like, this is what I do and da 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 da. And all of a sudden, like instead of them being the aggressor, like always on the front foot, you can start molding in. Like, all right, now I want to see like if I really want to work with you. These are the questions I need answered. Da, 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 da. They get to know, like I said, if you decide to work with them, they know, like, and trust you already. So, it's always about taking control of that conversation, too. I like the way you flip that. That's important. A lot of people if you're an entrepreneur and you don't know any sales, you're floundering. Yeah. Yeah. You're always selling, even if it's a product or if it's yourself. You always have to be aware that you are selling something. Yeah. Yeah. That's another big thing that literally changed for like. Because, like, when we came out of film school, I had a great reel, a great portfolio. I didn't know how to sell without my value, my services that I was bringing to the table. I just was taking whatever, So, like, once I learned to, like, communicate my value, and communicating that value really starts with understanding. Like, it took with, like, it's a mindset. It's, like, changing my mindset. Like, instead of, like, thinking about, okay, I'm trying to get paid, it's like, okay, I'm trying to understand the problem. Or I'm trying to understand, like you taught me, I'm trying to understand what you're trying to improve upon.
Yeah, yeah, it's not a problem. That's what you got to improve upon. Yeah, you never approach them like that. Yeah,
You know?
people pull back from problems. Oh, I have a problem. I have an issue to close up. You know, but what are you trying to improve? Oh, you know what? I want to improve. That came actually from selling martial arts packages or selling fitness. Like, you know, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. And that's a big thing right there. Though.
Yeah.
That's a big change.
But those skills, that skill that you learned, like, where did you learn it from? Like, I'm sure, because it's not taught in school, like, you know. So did you learn it at masterminds, or like where did you pick up on like that skill of like how to sell yourself? Like, where did you learn that from?
So I learned that my first area of where I learned that is from my mentor, David Muir. And that was my first exposure to business. So I had other mentors, and I was learning the art, the creativity part, you know, the branding stuff and everything like that. But with David, like the way that I would be in the car with him, he'd drive with me in the car, and we'd be going to shoots. But what he'll do is when he's having a phone call, he's talking business on the phone call, and I'm hearing how he communicates and how he translates his value. That's like, and then he was always busy. Like he's always getting phone calls. Like we'll be driving, talking, and then he get a phone call. Like, talking. And I could hear the conversation. I'm in the car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's driving, so he can't necessarily be like this.
Yeah.
You got to put it on speaker, and he's in the car. You know what I mean? And I'm in the car, so I'm just listening, and I'm just paying attention. I'm like, dang, I'm listening to how he understands his value. He's not going underneath that, and he asks really, really great questions.
Yep.
And it's like just that right there was like my first like, wow, he really could explain his value that he brings to the table, and that was like really, really good. And then after that, I started getting involved with like more books, started Googling more stuff, more exposure to different like masterminds and stuff like that. But really, it kind of like started from like just the exposure of selling, someone selling in general. I was just there, and I was just paying attention. I'm like,
You know, because I'm sitting here thinking about that, and I was just like, you know, thinking, I was just like, man, why isn't there like, you know, these classes that they don't, I don't know if business schools have it. I don't think so. I never went to MBA school, but I don't think they have a class like that teaches like that. So I'm thinking like, you know, the next time I do a Choose to Create, it's going to be about understanding and setting and selling your values.
Yeah.
That should be the next year. Yeah, it's going to be my next talk. Choose to Create.
Choose to
Nobody
create,
take
man.
that.
Choose to create.
Because that was something, I mean, the same thing. I mean, I learned that from going to different mastermind groups throughout. And, you know, people were talking about it and, you know, figured out, and it didn't hit me like the first couple of times. You know, I think it was like my fourth, maybe my fifth time. I don't know if it was one with like Grant Cardone was talking or Jesse Itzler or one of those, you know, masterminds I was at that it kind of just struck home, and it's just like, damn. And I think that's a skill that's not just for entrepreneurs, like just for people in general, like understanding your value and where you are, what you want, like what you really want and what you're really going after. It'll help you if you're working for somebody, like if you need a raise or you want to ask, you demanding the salary because you know what you're worth. If you know, you're in a relationship and somebody's not treating you the way that you want to be treated, like how do you put it and how do you ask for exactly what it is that you're worth? Like, you know, this is where I am, this is what I'm worth, this is the way you're going to treat me because this is what I'm worth, this is where it is. I think that's a skill that is downplayed or not taught, but I think it definitely is something that should be like,
especially for creatives. Yeah. we wasn't taught that.
Nah.
And I think I forgot what book it was, something that kind of triggered something about asking questions. And it was like the art of asking questions, and then that led me down a whole rabbit hole of like, how do I ask the right questions, and how do I understand them more, and I had to switch my mindset into like selling what I do to like understanding what asking the right question to understand where they are and what they need help with, so that way whatever I'm doing can help what they're doing. So it's like slowing everything down instead of just like, oh yeah, I do this price, I'm just sending over my proposal. It's like, nah, let me ask some questions, and if they're not willing to answer those questions and they give me enough information to like answer those questions, we just ain't gonna work together. I'm gonna send a proposal to somebody. That's a blank. What are you gonna do? You're gonna be like, they're gonna just be ragging you the whole way.
Time. Yeah, it's gonna be like you're not gonna get anything done. You know what I mean? It sucks. And I know like the times that I undervalued myself, those were the worst jobs, you know, like if you went down and you discounted yourself, like, you know, and people who are asking for work to be done, especially from a creative. If you nickel and dime them down and say like you needed your project in a week, expect that project in like a month.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they're gonna slow play, like like it just like it didn't excite me, it didn't make me want to work. It made me just think about how much I lost, and instead of putting in maximum effort, I put in the percentage of effort that I lost.
Yeah.
Like if it's like I lost 50% on that, it's like I'll put in 50% on that job. Like it hurts your heart so bad, like and you could go into it like think like I'm gonna do it, but it's just like you start working on it. You just every minute you're just thinking like, damn, this job should have been like you said $1,000. You just keep coming at that, but like I'm only getting paid like $200 for it. So yeah,
taking your time. But another thing too, even when I've been not like the price wasn't they paid the price.
Yeah.
But they wanted it at a quicker time than we needed to actually develop and do the market research that needed to create the creative. Because in order to create the creative is like the last part of everything. Like you got to do the market. You got to understand the company. You got to understand the messaging. You got to understand the audience that you're sending the message to.
Yeah.
To before you create the creative. But this guy, he just didn't want to listen to that. He's like, oh yeah, I just need the creative. It's like, all right, we make this creative and then we shoot, we do everything. We already sent off the creative brief and everything, and now you're sending another video reference when we're in the editing. It's like, whoa. Now we got to reshoot everything, and it's like, okay, let me not ever do that again, regardless of even if they is paying my price. Let me not just rush my process because then it's not enough clarity. Isn't it? You can't do it. You can't send a video reference after the fact. You got to do that. Yeah, you got to have that discussion before you actually shoot. That's why planning usually takes anywhere between 10 days to 14 days because you gotta do market research. You gotta get those video reference, those photo shot list, photo shot list, so that way you can kind of like follow that guideline and deliver on that.
Yep.
So like that was another thing too, and really like a way that I would to answer that question too. First was my mentor David, and then second was a business coach. I got into business coaching, and then they started educating me more on, like it's malpractice to give a price before you understand the situation. And the way that he put it was like, it's like being a doctor, right? And you go into the hospital or whatever, somebody comes in and they say, hey, I need this surgery because I'm hurting here.
Yeah.
The doctor can't say, okay, I'm just going to do that surgery. This is how much it costs. No, they got to do x-rays.
Tests.
They got to go through the whole procedure. They got to ask you questions. Okay, how long have you been feeling like this? Like, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions and stuff like that, right? Before they can actually give you a price or start doing surgery or give you any kind of medication or anything like that. They got to go through that process of, like, figuring it out.
Yeah, you can't skip it.
It's malpractice if you do, right? So that's the same way that he put it together. Like, yo, you got to ask these questions. You got to understand the scope. You got to understand what they want, what they desire, where they are now and where they're trying to go in order to give a price, to give a quote.
Yep.
If you give a price without understanding that first, that's malpractice.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, that's a good point.
That sounds right. That sounds about right.
Yeah. So now that's like how we were saying with the martial arts, right? That's the technique. But then practicing it now when you have a call with a client and they're like, oh, how much does it cost? It's like the arm. I'm trying to get the arm bar.
Yeah.
Where's the arm? I'm flipped up.
Yeah, you're upside down or something like that. It's like, all right, how do I recover? How do I recover like that? And head is there. I'm almost there. Let me switch my technique or change this angle. You got to switch it up, man. Got to be able to switch it up and then figure it out. So yeah.
That real life situation is different when you in it. It's good. It's like that was a really great theory, and I had some really understanding of like these different types of questions to ask and why we asking this question and how it helps. But on some people they was more receptive, but a lot of times like people that just like okay, how do you deal with that? And it's just that just like the martial arts, having that calm, that patience, and sticking to your guns.
Yeah,
you got to be patient. Martial arts, you got to be patient.
Big time. Like I said, especially with Jiu Jitsu, because you never know. They have a belt ceremony, they have a stripe ceremony, and every time I've gotten a new belt, it's always been a surprise. I never thought like I actually deserved it. To be honest with you, like in with Jiu Jitsu. I was like, man, damn, really? Okay. But it's like that was me putting myself a little, playing a little low with that. If I look back to the amount of hours that I put in, the amount of time I put in drilling, the amount of time I put into helping other people, like, get their techniques better and stuff like that, then, you look back at it and be like, all right, yeah, I do deserve it, but, yeah, persistent and patience. Just
I like that too.
Stepping in.
I like that point where the time that you put into helping others,
yeah,
it increase your own skill. Like literally, like say for instance, when we met up and we had lunch, and I was asking him questions, man. I had to figure out what she was doing, man.
Yeah, you were like, well, how can we help each other? And I was like, you know what? That's how we can do it.
Yeah. I'm like, after all this value you just gave to me, bro, like, man, I gotta give it back. I gotta give you some value back as well. But like, that's what it is. It's like when it's like, okay, I learned the technique, I'm doing all the time, but you also teaching other people. So that in turn makes you understand the technique way faster.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. That's one of the things, you should be instructed, because that's definitely one of the things that people don't realize. Like, yeah, to break down, like, if I had to teach, like, me learning arm bar, I learned, and now when I go back and when I teach it, I have to understand it to a level that, like, like I didn't learn it at that level, but I'm doing it and putting the reps and practicing it, that I had to learn at that level. So that, for example, I have several private lessons, but I have two that are training in martial arts. So, like, one, I have to explain things to her, like, in reference to, like, food. Like, things with food, she gets. Like, food and fighting, that's her thing. Like, so when I reference this or this movement like this or whatever. And, no, she gets it. Another one is, like, a yogi. So she's, like, a movement specialist. So I have to talk about, like, you got to activate your glutes in this manner to be able to, like, really press into the arm bar, blah, 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 in that sense, And it's like you got that creative thinking to, like I said, to understand the arm bar to that level that you can explain it 2, 3, 4, or 5 different ways for that student to get it, because everybody learns differently and everybody understands differently. So, yeah, it really does take that technique and that thought process, like, it helps you get it so much better. If you're teaching somebody how to shoot, the way you shot things, it brings back, like, old stuff that you probably, like, learned that just became so innate or just became part of your process. Then now you have to break it down and show it, and then it's like, damn, this is really an intricate technique that I have to go through here. Like, my steps it's heavy, but yeah, it's good. And the idea of that, like, coming back to the beginning, we were talking about how, like, we'd if you had people that you reach out to or look for, and they're like, no, they're hogging their information and stuff like that. Well, it's the same thing. Like, people like that aren't really growing, because you could have the information and you think you're using it, but if you're not giving back or teaching other people how to do it, you probably aren't understanding that technique or those scenarios, situations to the fullest extent. You learn so much from sharing and teaching other people. I mean, ground zero, man, that's what it is for me. It's like, and just from being a martial artist too, like, one of the other things I love about what I do, or, being in the martial arts, but even with doing the digital media, social media and stuff like that, when you teach somebody something, you show them a technique and they get it, or they surpass you, and you're like, damn, I don't want to be egotistic and be like, I did that, but, it feels good to me when people can take something I gave them and really make it work or really make it shine. Or you watch somebody like, all of a sudden they go to a jiu-jitsu tournament and they get that armbar tap out. You're just like, yes. You know what I mean? They're going to level. Yeah, you're excited for them. You have to, like, it's really about capturing and humbling that ego. And that was something that, wasn't a very innate thing to me. I had to learn how to, like, humble that ego down throughout the years, like, and it wasn't like maybe like the last, like, maybe about 10 years ago is when I really started putting in work on that, how to really step away from that ego and, like, be more open to everything and just, like, look at the world through the eyes of a child, to be honest. Like, so, like, everything is great. And part of it too is looking at the world through the eyes of an artist, because the artists, we always see things as something's interesting, something's open, like, something's great. But same thing. I hate to keep referencing back to the martial arts too, but
it is, that's the arts. The arts is the core of it, because when we was watching the arts, when I was watching, I'm not like a physical martial artist, but I understand the concept, I understand the whole thing, and I really, 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 really cherish it. And it's like the sensei, the part of like, I always watch the movies with Bruce Lee, the old school movies. It always had a sensei, and then the teacher, the student then gets to the same level as the teacher, and they fighting, and then the student then surpassed the sensei.
Yep.
And then that student goes up and he's doing this thing. He's traveling. You know, they used to run.
Yeah.
And in the Kung Fu movies, they used to run across town.
Yeah.
Man, they used to be, go to the next town and they start fighting and they fighting a bunch of different people. Man, I used to love those movies. But then the way that the student gets to the next level is by having a student.
Yep.
The student then surpasses the sensei, and then he becomes a sensei and he teaches a student, and then it's the same thing that goes over and over. It's the mentor-mentee relationship. Like it's
that process. It's that ladder process. It's how like life and just human beings were supposed to grow. You know, it's that ladder. Like you climb up somebody else. You know, you don't stomp on them when you surpass them. You know, thank you. You reach up and pull them up if you need to or whatever. But yeah, you know. And the other thing about it too is just like if you had a guy like that got into a fight and he lost a fight. And then you see him go off, like, you know, a lot of Jackie Chan movies. He goes off and he trains with another master. Like, he's someone left to know, like, you know what, my fight style didn't work. Like, some people just sit there and be like, no, mine works. It's just he cheated or whatever. No, my style didn't work, so I'm going to go train with this guy over here. You know, he's got a better jab than I have. So let me figure out how you throw that jab a little bit better. That guy's got a better round kick. Let me go over there and You know, this guy has Let me go over there and train with this guy. And then you put it all together, and then you come up with your own fight style, or whatever you're comfortable with, because everybody's different. But
and they come out, and then the eagle claw come out, and I'm like, okay, so that's literally what would happen. They'll learn these different techniques, and then in the middle of the fight, like my favorite technique, the drunken master, man, bro. The guy that drink the alcohol, man, he just. Man, I used to grow up off that.
There was
stuff,
I mean, people kind of talk about it, and it's funny. It's like, that's not real. I mean, most of it's not in the movies, but there was a couple boxers who used it. You know, it's Roy Jones was not like a true drunken style, but like he definitely did have some motion, some movements, and the way he would swivel off of his hips and stuff like that like imitated it. Yeah, it was for real. There was really people who used to do it, like, you know, train that way. And I think the thing about it's just like you learn to bend and not break. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing about drunken style. It's like, you know, and it's like even if you're bending, you're pulling back on the abs, but you're reaching forward with the arms. So it's like almost you're propelling yourself forward. So like, you know, even though you're defending, you're still striking, and you know, it's cool stuff. Yeah. I mean, kids, this is where it sets the foundation. If you're not having your kids watch some martial arts or get into the arts, something like that, guys, you need to definitely.
For sure, man. And that right there alone just shows how like the martial arts and the creative arts is like intertwined. You know what I mean? It's like really, really intertwined, and like taking that ego out of it, being willing to learn from other masters. You know what I mean? Like I didn't just like, okay, I'm just learn just from this one mentor. Nah, I was open to like learn from. Okay, I learned from this mentor. All right, cool. I learned how to get branded, so it prepared me for when I work with this other mentor. It's like, okay, I'm able to do that, but now he's asking a little bit more of me, and I have to stretch a little bit more in this way. And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna go with this business coach, and it's like just learning all of these different skills. Mm-hmm. And even now to this day, I don't be like, oh, I know everything. Nah, I holler at you. I'm like, hey, bro, what it is that you doing, man? I need help.
Yep, that's the hardest thing for a lot of people to ask too. You know, especially but a lot of times people of color, man, sometimes that's the hardest thing to be like, I need help. Like, help me out. Like, you know, or go looking for it. Like, know that you need help and not going looking for it is just as bad too. But, you know, if you're out there reaching like, I need help, and nobody's coming back to help you, that's the sad part of it, you know?
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I help so much, because I know what it is to be on a journey by yourself. Yeah. Like, being alone is probably the closest thing to like just death. Like, being alone is like being alone on a journey. Like being alone is like it's like depression. It's like death, basically. Yeah. It's like, you know what I mean? Like you don't want, like, that's one of my things too. I don't want anybody to ever feel alone. Yeah. Be alone or feel alone in any kind of way. Like, yo, let's just walk. Yeah. Let's just go for a walk.
Yeah, we don't have to talk. When I say we just walking together, we just vibe, you know, sharing that little energy space, for a minute. But yeah, very, very true. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, yeah, that is huge. That is huge. And like I said, a lot of people have it, like, how many people still like know their neighbors and, like talk to their neighbors, like actually go out and meet people and stuff like that, That's why it's funny that they call you here at GP, like, you're the ambassador, the mayor of GP. Because RJ know everybody. If RJ don't know you, you haven't been here long enough. You maybe been here for like a day or two, But yeah, you go through and, you say what's up to everybody, no matter how you feel. Hey, what's up? How you doing? And, everybody knows RJ.
Hey, man, just a smile, man.
Yep.
A smile alone, man, could brighten up a day, bro.
True.
A smile alone could brighten up a day. You know what I mean? And you don't want to just be. It's like I always look at it like that ultra ray, that ultra light. It's like you come with so much brightness, so much light, so much positivity that it's like, hey, you ain't got no space to be negative over here.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you are negative, you probably just gonna hide in the corner. You're gonna hide in the shadows somewhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't bring the negativity.
Yeah, don't bring that shadow over here, yo. Don't bring it over here. Have no need for it right here. Yeah. You step back with that.
Nah, man, I really appreciate you, man, kicking it with us, man, for real, man. Like the information that you was able to like embark on me, and then even coming out the truth to create and just hanging out, like being in the stands and listening and giving value, and then even presenting that truth to create, bro. That was like, I got a lot of information. That's why I love Truth to Create. I be learning more. I don't know people. I be in that bit like,
oh yeah, notes, taking pictures, like figuring out, like I put together those essay reports. I'm like, all right, yeah, I need to do this and do that. Like, yeah, like create action plans. Like, and even just like you get it from both the presenters or from people sitting next to you too. Like, sometimes people asking questions, like, they have a question that maybe you had in the back of your head and they're asking it, or a question that you never thought of, and they're like, boom, it's like, damn, that was a good question. Yeah, how would you solve that problem? You know what I mean? It's like,
and then everybody like comes in and like help. Like, even if the presenter don't know, everybody kind of like, because we got people in all different fields and expertise in the room, and it's like everybody kind of like pitch in. It's like that whole mastermind thing. It's that whole like everybody's voice is valuable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think Choose to Create, even though it's like start off with like mainly creatives, I think it's I tell friends in other businesses. And they're coming out like, I have the one friend who does tailoring. She's been to 2 of them now, and then I have another friend that's coming in who does social media for charities, stuff like that. Like, more people the merrier. I think like anybody can get something out of Choose to Create. Either if you're open to it and you're humble enough to it, there's a way that it will apply to you and what you're doing, even whether you're in business for yourself or you're working for somebody else. It's one of those things that like really does benefit you. And if anything else, it just gets you to think a little bit differently for an hour or two.
Facts. Yeah, man. So with this episode, will be episode 11? Episode 11, man. So definitely, if you guys need anything, you can let them know what kind of people that you like working with, or like how they get in contact with you. Either way, I'm gonna put all your contact information on this podcast, so that way they could get in contact with you. But yeah, you can let them know.
People we're trying to get in touch with. So like our business has changed up just a little bit. We're basically, because creating content was great, but helping people do something with that content. So when those leads come in, so now we're focused more on not just lead generation, but lead nurturing and turning leads into actual paying customers. So that's the focus for Eff5 going forward. So if you guys need help with that, whether it's from, like I said, generating new leads, to if you're having that break-in process from turning leads coming in to actual paying customers, that's what we're looking for companies and solopreneurs or whoever's trying to do that. You can look us up at Eff5. That's Eff5 Digital Marketing.com. On Instagram, Eff5 Digital Marketing as well. So yeah, we'll be up there, and hit me up. And even if it's not marketing or anything like you guys are looking for, you want to reach out and just kick it, let me know, man. I have lunch or coffee with anybody.
Lattes.
There we go.
Hey, man, Choose to Create podcast. Appreciate you guys listening to this. Hope you guys got a lot of value from it. As Osei said, listen, you can always contact us. You can always reach out to us. We are here to help. We are here to connect. We are here. This is a community for creatives, not only creatives, but anybody that chooses to create a business, create a brand, and is looking to make an impact out here in this world, a positive impact out here in this world, man. Let's do it together.
Yep.
All
right, guys. Peace.
Peace.